You're listening to the Round the Blind podcast with Ben and Levi. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit subscribe for more content. Now let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this edition of Round the Blind. We are joined by Mr. Jacob Shipman, the taxidermist, who's going to break down the ins and the outs of the taxidermy world. He's going to kind of give us what his process is, how he got into it, kind of what to expect, price wise versus quality, all that different stuff. He's going to go into proper bird storage prior to bringing him the bird, so that you can make sure you get the best out of your game, and that's a huge thing. So I know myself and I know Levi both, when we've got our birds done, we're real tedious about making sure we save our wildlife properly so that we can get the best result possible, because if you don't bring something great to the taxidermist, you might not get the best product back. So without further ado, what's going on, Jacob?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for inviting me down to Round the Blind.
Absolutely. I think you've seen a couple or listened to a couple of episodes. If you want to give people a little bit of intro about yourself, you can go back as early as you want, how you got into hunting or taxidermy, and just kind of go from there. We'll kind of bounce questions off you from what we hear from you.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I got into hunting. I've got pictures of me in a car seat, less than a year-old, dog driving for deer. Dad always was a big deer hunter, still is, and that's what he does for taxidermy. He mounts a deer, or any mammal, but mainly deer. And I really got into duck hunting probably when I was about 14. I had a buddy take me wood duck hunting, and then me and Dad would go wood duck hunting every now and then, and it just evolved from there to I need a boat and a bunch of decoys and all this gear. And my name's Jacob Shipman. Y'all heard that at the beginning, but I live in Sumter, South Carolina. Been doing taxidermy for 4 years, and starting to get pretty smooth with my birds now. Finally getting happy where I'm at, and but still trying to progress. Always trying to be better and learn new things, and just always trying to get better. Really, don't want to be stagnant. Not until you get to the very tip top.
Right. So, like, if I know you say that you're always trying to improve yourself when it comes to like doing work on birds. Like, if you kill one, and you want to try something new, like, will you use like a bird that you killed personally to try something before you do it on like someone else's bird, if that makes sense?
Well, nothing that I do now is really any newer.
I gotcha.
Anything that I'm changing now really isn't it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to mess up anything at this point.
Yeah.
I just started using a new wood duck head it's got a whole new set of eye rings and eyes, and I'm to where I am now. I can just adjust to it and make it perform even better than what I was doing before. Especially those wood duck heads. Those new eye rings are really a big improvement. There's Ted Wyenberg. I was lucky to even get on that list. I caught him when he was down at the lake, and he had gotten into a storm. So that was lucky.
Yeah, so one question, you mentioned the wood ducks and talking about kind of the wood duck heads and all that stuff. So one thing that I've noticed with specifically waterfowl mounts and wood duck mounts is the eyes. I always look for the eyes when looking at the quality of a wood duck mount. Is there something that's different or harder to do regarding the eyes with a wood duck? 'Cause I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but the eyes are always, if the eyes look good, then the mount looks good.
the wood duck is a tricky bird in itself, and I don't know if any taxidermist got the wood duck perfect the first time. I know I didn't. The wood, the whole everything, every way you have to. Most people use a pre-made eye, and you have to get that skin to stretch around that eye. And if your bird's too dry, then it won't do it. And then there's just a way to do it and ways to do it that don't look good. But that is a huge thing that once I learned how to do that, I really felt like my wood ducks really started to take shape.
So I know I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, but he said that your dad is also a taxidermist. I assume that's where you kind of picked it up from. It was from your dad, your old man.
Yeah, I was doing construction, and he needed some help. He had gotten backed up. He asked me if I would help him, and I started doing turkey wing mounts and the deer European skull mounts, like behind me. And then after about a year doing that, I was like, no, I really wouldn't mind trying to mount a duck. I was already a duck hunter, so it was just like, I should try to mount these ducks that I'm shooting. So he knew the basic principles of mounting a duck, but I think he's mounted 2 of them his whole life. And that was the first thing he ever did whenever he was a kid, was he mounted a bird, I believe. Bird or a squirrel. He mounted something whenever he was 12 or 13. And then he picked it up again whenever he was 30. But yeah, he's a huge deer taxidermist in the state, though. He usually gets around 150 shoulder mounts a year, and that I would say that on average. Some year he might get 130 or 140, but then the next year he might get 170. And they got a lot of limitations on deer now, and you're just seeing the quality of deer go up and up.
Right. So I know you said that you really don't. You're pretty good now, but like when you're first starting, did you use a lot of your own personal birds, like the first couple?
When I first started, I didn't. I think I had mounted about 20 birds before I ever did a customer's bird, and I kept them for a while just to keep them and look at them. But eventually, I was like, you know what? That's $15 worth of materials inside that bird. I was like, we're going to use that.
Do you sell the very first one you've done, or did you sell it too?
I tore it apart and used the materials out of it again.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
What it was I ran out of materials, and I was like, man, I really want to mount a bird today, so I can use that one over there.
So a buddy of mine, he let a friend of his who was getting into taxidermy mount one of his pintails that he had shot, probably 5-6 years ago. And when he got it back, it initially looked good. I mean, there was some stuff that was off on it, but for it being a relatively new taxidermist, it looked fairly good. But there was one day we went out there to visit him, and he's got maggots all over the bird. So how does that work? How do you prevent? I mean, I know that was probably something that taxidermists didn't do right, but how do you? What did the taxidermist do wrong, and two, how is as the owner of the mount, what can you do to remedy that?
I'm not really sure what he did wrong, but maybe just a fly landed inside of it while he was mounting it, and happened to lay eggs, and everything went from there. But it sounds like it also he could have left meat. You gotta get inside those wings. You gotta completely invert that wing, and then you got even more meat that's right there in the wrist of the duck wing. So the power just cut back on. Sweet. So it sounds like he probably left some of that in there, and but a lot of guys use borax, and some people put a little dry preservative in there. But both borax and dry preserve will keep those bugs away. But if you don't do that, then that's just inviting the bugs to come and play. But I've always used, ever since I started. I started just using dry preserve. Now I just use just borax, which is Shane Smith recommends using that. So he's at the top. So following his lead isn't a bad way to go. He's actually taught me quite a few things, like the proper way to kill a bird. If it's if you got a crippled swimming away, not shooting it right when you get up on it, just getting the bird and then compressing down on it either with your hands, putting the bird on the seat of the boat, in the middle of the boat, and pushing down on his chest for a couple minutes will kill that bird, and you won't damage it at all. With a wrung neck, it's like, this is an issue.
Yeah.
So that is a helpful tip right there.
So the widgeon I had was actually alive whenever I knocked it down and I picked it up. I was with Ben, and then we were kind of looking at each other. I'm really glad you brought that up, because we were looking at each other like, what do we do? Because I know I wanted to get it mounted, but I didn't, like you said, I didn't want to get right up on it and just blast it. And I know I didn't want to wring its neck, so I just kind of just closed the windpipe and then just. Then me and Ben were kind of looking at each other like, damn, I feel kind of bad now. He was like, yeah. It's like, yeah, that was kind of brutal.
It probably take a little bit longer as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've even, I'll just sit on the bird, gently sit down on top of it. And,
yeah.
And after about a minute, you'll hear that duck, kind of take its last breath and
right.
exhale one time. Usually after that, they're done for. But that's definitely, I've seen birds used with finished off with the finisher, and that's I've messaged, I've commented on Facebook multiple times with people talking about using it, and me just advising them not to use it, and then they'll say why.
Right.
And the main reason is that you're adding a hole in the back of the head that
yeah.
any hole either has to be sewn up or you can inject caulk into it. But if you don't sew it up perfectly, then things might not align perfectly.
You could have like a little indentation.
But it's hard. It's hard to. It could just be, some hairs that are just kind of off. That everything else looks smooth. Because it's hard to figure out where things actually went. Whenever you're just jabbing a hole through it. If you make a slice, then you can like pull it back together, and you're like, all right, the slice is right here. But with just a straight hole into the back of the head, there's no real way to sew it back up perfectly.
Yeah. So like, what other big no-nos we see, or like when people bring birds in that they've done, or just whether it's in the field or storage, like what are some big no-nos that you've seen that like wings limits, like what positions they go in, and like what all you can do with it?
Well, I've only had with the wing break, I've only had one bird that I couldn't fix and make it do what I wanted. I usually can turn any broken wing and rebuild it with some wire, and it'll be back to working order. But I had a fellow brought me a pintail this year, and he wanted a radical flying pose with the wings back, him dropping in, and the bone was broken after the wrist. It was in between the main feathers and the wrist. And whenever I was skinning it out, I got it all the way skinned out and sitting there looking at it. And I got it dried and everything, and it was just hanging on by a thread. The whole bone structure was hanging on by like one little piece of skin, and it ended up coming all the way off. But that was ended up turning into a standing mount. Looked great, but usually I can fix them. Anything broken on the humerus, I can fix. Anything broken on the ulna or the what is it, the ulna and the radius. Anyway, I can usually fix anything in those main bones. I can usually rebuild that. But I guess the other big things that I see is people putting them in grocery bags and trash bags. They'll throw 10 ducks in a trash bag and throw it all in the freezer and bring them to me, and those birds they never look good because they'll usually bring them 3 or 4 years later. Yeah, so I say if you just put them in the Ziploc bags, and you'll be so good. Another big thing is not if it's hot during the year, you need a cooler in the boat. Because on a hot, if it's 80 or 90 degrees in the morning, then your bird can spoil sitting out there. And especially early season, you have a lot of birds with pin feathers, and you can end up running into problems with those as well. But for a pin feathered bird, their feathers really not stuck in their skin that well. So the more damage that you do to it, the more feathers you're going to lose, and you're not going to have as quality of a mount as you would have had.
Yeah. So I know I was still pretty green whenever I was hunting with Ben, and when I got the widgeon and the black duck mounted that year, and I know he said that when you kill one, you want to like to tuck the head up next to its body and kind of have like the wings go around it. Is that something that actually really helps kind of help protect the neck and like the wing feathers, or is it just kind of if you just don't throw it around, or if you actually just kind of keep care of it, it's gonna be fine either?
It's probably going to be fine either way, but tucking it's not a bad way. That I'm not sure if it actually helps anything, but it doesn't hurt anything.
Right.
I've seen it hurt things whenever you freeze them with that head tucked. I've seen it, after years and years in the freezer, have a problem in the shoulders,
Okay.
just gapping that.
Yeah. So maybe like if you're going to keep it for like a couple months, like you plan on keeping it a couple months and then taking it to the taxidermist, it's not as bad on it, I guess.
Yeah, probably not going to have any issue there.
Okay.
Or even you probably have a solid year before it probably even would have. That's whenever you start really running into problems, is after you start putting years on it.
Yeah. So if you do have a bird that you want to wait a couple, like if maybe you shot a drake or something, you want to wait to get it mounted with the hen, and it's been in there, you don't know how long it's going to be in there. Is there a certain position that you should have it like froze in that's going to be best for long? You know what I mean? If that makes sense, like for like long term, I guess.
The best thing to do would be to wrap the bird's feet with wet paper towels and the bird's head with wet, and put it in that Ziploc freezer bag.
Mm-hmm.
The 2.5 gallon bags work great for mallards, your big birds, gadwalls and stuff. You're not squunching it up. You're not putting it in crazy positions. You can slide it right in there. You can roll it up and zip it up, and you're good to go. The 1 gallon bird bags work great for, teal or something.
So with I've heard of people
Go ahead,
say, I've heard of people say to use the the vacuum seal bags, and I've heard of people say to not use the vacuum seal bags. So one, what's the benefit of using a vacuum seal bag? And two, why would using a vacuum seal bag be a no-no?
Well, I've seen a lot of controversy with the whole vacuum seal bag. I was talking about Shane Smith earlier. He's a super high up in the waterfowl taxidermy world, and he advised last year to not use vacuum seal bags at all, just use those Ziploc bags. And he was showing pictures with indentions that you see those dimpled vacuum seal bags, and the dimples were all over the bird. But I've also seen another taxidermist, Mark Benfield, posted the same thing. The customer brought it in and it had the dimples all over it. But then he posted the after picture, and it had no problem. So the memory must have came out in the wash, which most times do. Most of your feathers will fix themselves in the wash, and so I'm not really sure. I would say just to use the Ziploc bag if you can, and on the whole waiting, shooting the drake and wanting to wait on the hen, I would say just go ahead and plan for the mount. If you want to do a standing mount, go ahead and pick everything like you had both birds and go ahead and get your drake mounted.
That makes sense.
And if you wanted to go flying, go ahead and get them either, like me, people tell me all the time, I'm going to want to add to this, but I don't want a big piece of wood right now. So I'll put it on a single piece of wood, and they can bring it back later, and I'll put it on a double. But either way is just go ahead and getting it done is, I would say, the best route, because your bird's fresh, your skin's not going to start to shrink, and the taxidermist is going to have an easier time not having to rehydrate that skin. And like I mounted a hooded merganser today that had been in the freezer for a few years. not in my freezer for a few years, but of extra stuff that I wouldn't have had to done had they just brought it sooner.
So when you say rehydrate the skin, like, well, what does that entail?
You have to, sometimes to get to skin around the head. I would say if the bird's been in the freezer for over 3.5 years, 4 years, you have to take a syringe and inject around the bill where it connects to the feather, the skin.
Yeah.
And
what do you
just have to let it soak after, you have to soak it before you flesh it, and you have to flesh it and then soak it again and just get the water revitalize that skin.
Right. So that's all you're using is just water? You're not using like any like saline or solution or anything like that?
No.
Just water? Okay, I got you.
I have seen some they've come out with some chemicals that are for rehydrating the bird skin, and they say that they can take out the freezer burn and that any bird is savable. I haven't tried the chemical yet, but they're promoting that it's a pretty nice chemical to use. Because
So
some
when
guys,
going back,
they'll have that pin in the freezer and forget about it. What do you say, Ben?
So when going back, you mentioned the pin feathers a little bit earlier ago. So how would somebody who maybe not so privy to what's going to be harmful and what's not going to be harmful to the bird, how could somebody identify what those pin feathers are going to be that are going to make that mount a little bit harder?
If you start seeing feathers falling out, if you're just barely touching it, you're being gentle with it, and you're still seeing feathers popping out, or just missing, bare spots, anytime during I would say September, you're probably going to have a pin feathered bird. But, like the even a pintail, which I've had buddies up in Michigan shoot widgeon that didn't have pin feathers in October. So I'm not saying that they all are going to have pin feathers, but most of your wood ducks aren't going to have. They're going to have pin feathers all the way up until maybe December, that range. And if your bird doesn't look like a stud when you shoot him, he's probably not going to look that much better whenever he gets mounted. I mean, you can really, I guess maybe not everyone can tell what a good bird is going to look like, but as a taxidermist, I can spot it now. But
So will you tell
if
somebody,
you,
like if somebody comes in and they bring it to you, like are you typically going to be like, all right, it's what you want, I'll do it for you, or will you tell them like, hey, this bird might not be the one that you're wanting to put on the wall?
yeah, I'll turn down the work now. Like Zach Buckley had a couple mallards that he got me from Charleston. He was super concerned about the quality, so whenever I got done skinning it, I even skinned it, fleshed it, dried it, and whenever I got done drying it, I was just like, this bird ain't gonna come out like you're wanting it to. I was like, it was just missing feathers. It was a pin raised mallard. Most of your pin raised birds aren't, they're always gonna have pin feathers, and they're always gonna have missing feathers just from beating on the other birds. They're always walking so closely. So they'll usually have missing wing feathers, and yeah, I just, at this point in my career, I just don't want that bad look on my name. So it's just better for me, and I get enough birds in now that I'm not starving for the work anymore. So, but I'll also, I'll work with the customer as well. If it's sometimes they don't care what the bird quality is going to look like. That's not what was important. What was important was maybe the hunt.
Right.
Maybe it was their first bird. And, I'll usually work around that. And usually you can turn anything into a standing mount and it'll look good. But sometimes your chest is blowed out on it. And you may need to turn it into a dead mount. Or sometimes the back feathers are missing, so you need to turn it into a cupped up mount and put the back against the wall.
Right. So, me and my dad, we just got some birds back that a guy did where my dad lives in Indiana, and when he had a nice, beautiful Drake Gadwall mounted, when he got it back, it was, I mean, Ben saw it. It looks awful. Because on the Gadwall Drake, it had a nice big bull head on him, black beak, and when he got it back, it looked like he had like a wood duck head in it. It was like an egg shaped, and the beak was he had the Drake, and I killed the hen. He got them both mounted, and the Drake had like had an orange beak too. So when right, it should be a
all
black beak.
black.
So people will say like whenever they kill, like I had a buddy, his name's Cody. He killed a wood duck, and it had some cool coloring on the beak of the wood duck. So whenever someone brings you a bird like that, do you kind of take note of it or take pictures, or is that something like the customer really kind of has to like reiterate, say, hey, I like the color of the beak or stuff like that, if that makes sense?
I've done it on just a few birds. I've done that custom type work on my own.
Right.
If the customer asked me, I would be happy to do it, but they've never asked. But there's been a few times that I just took it upon myself. It was a buddy or something, or I thought it looked cool. But most people don't care about it.
Yeah, like
So
that Drake looks like a completely different bird. I'll send you pictures whenever we get off here. I'll let you check it out. But yeah, I'm like, you send me a picture of it. I'm like, okay, there's the hen because I saw like the orange beak and then the real skinny head. And I was like, and then he sent me the picture of the hen. I'm like, you have two hens. What's going on here? And then he ended up like, talking to him. He's like, those were the only two gals I got all year. And my dad was like, well, even before we got the birds back, he said, I'm not going back there. And I had a pintail mounted, and then I wanted it from my dead mount. I wanted it like on the shelf with like the wing kind of draped over it.
Yep.
And then and he put it on its own sitting. It looks good. It's just,
Oh,
huh?
but he did give you the bird,
Yeah, I got the bird and everything,
but
but
he
it's
did a
just
standing.
yeah. And I sent him pictures of my dead mount, and I told him exactly the position I wanted it to be, and then he, but,
I've
but
I messed up one time. I've only messed up one time. He didn't mind, but it was a younger boy. He had brought me 3 or 4 redheads and a pintail or something, and one of the redheads he wanted standing on a rock, and I thought, but the rock had a dead mount on it, and I thought he wanted the dead mount, and then he sent me another picture and was like, he really wanted a duck standing on the rock that the dead mount was on, but I got it. I didn't read it close enough, and he had. I didn't end up. He didn't want all of his redheads mounted. He just brought me some extras to pick the best, and I was like, if you don't like it, I can keep it and just put it up for show and mount one of the other ones. But he said no, I like it, and he came and got it. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever messed up.
so like if something like that happens, like what would you do to like kind of make it right with the customer?
If I did a standing mount, like in your case,
Yeah, or just or just what a customer asked for one thing and you gave them another, or if you kind of like yeah, like what would you do to try to make it right with the customer, just you personally?
well, I got lucky with Gage, and he had the extra ones that I could kind of, if you
Right.
don't like it, I can just mount one of the other ones. They
Yeah.
all looked great. I just, 2 of them were super studs, and I just mounted one of them. So I could have easily had mounted the other one and wouldn't have really. And I like to have birds. I need to take some birds up to the Simpsons Ace Hardware in Sumter, and so it's like it would have gone to waste. But I guess if I wouldn't have had those backup birds, then I probably would have offered them, I don't know, some money off or
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
It would have
Yeah.
bugged me. It would have bugged me bad. I would have been super annoyed with myself if that would have happened. But I like a buddy of mine, Kyle Winburn. He brought in a hooded merganser drake this year, and he was like, "Man, I really want to mount this bird, but I don't really know if it's a good bird to mount." And I was like, "Well, everything looks good on it, but whenever I mounted it, it had a small hood, and your small hooded your small hoods on a hooded merganser just don't look good." So I told him, I was like, "I'll knock $100 off, and or you can just not get the bird." I was like, "I don't mind trashing the bird." He didn't really know if he wanted it anyway. If it wasn't going to look good, he didn't want it. So it's not like he ended up getting the bird for $100 cheaper. But I only mounted it. Normally, I probably wouldn't even have mounted a customer's bird because I saw the small hood before I mounted it. But sometimes they work better than others. I don't know. Maybe the bird skin was too dry or something, but it just wouldn't open up to a full hood. Like I mounted a hen hooded merganser today, and she's got twice as big of a hood as that Drake did. But you just have to work with the customers. You don't want a bad customer service reputation.
Yeah, and then like, because my wife was up there at one point, and then my dad was calling him, he wouldn't pick up, and then I called him, he didn't pick up. Then he called me back like I was like Saturday, and he called me back Wednesday. He was like, "Hey, you call?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was trying to pick up my birds." So I don't know how he's been in business this long. He's been in
know
business
how
for several years. So
I see that.
maybe we just got the luck of the draw,
Yeah, I've
or
kind of have a
what? I
similar.
don't know.
I kind of have a similar situation with the one that one of the pintails that I got done too. And it's a guy who's been in business back home for a long time. People all through town take their stuff to him. Um, and then for whatever reason, the time that I took my bird to him, it's nowhere near the same as what other people get from him. So um, yeah,
Do you want to
I
show him, especially that part of the neck?
yeah, I
That
mean, I could show him, but it's not what I wanted. It's not the way the bird looked when I shot it. And so when I got it back, it was just not good quality, and I paid kind of a lower price point for it. Whereas the one I got here, I paid $150 more for this. But this one you can see the quality just in looking at it. But what do you do? Are you able to
Yeah.
repair, kind of botched or damaged pieces? Or is that kind of something that's not really a possibility?
It is a possibility, but I've never done anything. I got one buddy, Kellen, that brought me in a ring neck that another taxidermist mounted. But the only thing I could do was I put it on a new piece of wood. I cleaned the eyes. The eyes had caulk and stuff on them, and cleaned the eyes, put some, built the eye rings up with some caulk and colored those. And I think I repainted the bill and repainted the feet. And there was a bunch of feathers out of place. And sometimes if they don't use caulk or something or silicone, which a lot of the amateur taxidermists don't, you can often move those feathers into place. But I would say overall, his bird really doesn't look that much better, even though I did that. Because all you see are the bad things on it. You don't see
Yeah.
that, oh, well, those feathers are in order. You see that crazy long skinny neck and, you know, the weird looking heads and the weird looking eyes. You don't see those other
Yeah.
things.
So I've heard of some taxidermists, and I've never ran into one that actually does it, but it's just kind of a word of mouth kind of thing. But do you or have you heard of anybody who will keep their own, like keep additional feathers from like birds that they shot, so they can kind of maybe fix up a bird that's maybe lost a couple feathers, or maybe a pintail that's lost a sprig, and you can put a different sprig in there or something like that.
Yeah, I try to keep, at least wood ducks is, a lot of what I mount is wood ducks living in South Carolina. So I'll usually save 5 or 6 wood ducks, and sometimes the feet are all shot up on the wood duck, so I can replace the feet on them, or sometimes the whole wing's shot up. You can just take a wing off of another bird and slap it on there.
So one thing I've heard, taxidermists will they won't use the actual beak and the feet. Is that true, or do you try to use, or can you use the original beak and feet?
I use the original feet, but I've never used the original head before. And
Okay.
I would say probably 99% of the taxidermists use artificial heads. I know one taxidermist that uses real heads, Chase Courtney, but he's the only taxidermist that I know that is doing that. But
I mean, that kind of makes
he's
sense,
obviously got a good way to.
because you probably couldn't take the beak off the head, a clean cut, huh?
Well, he probably uses the whole head, and
Right. Yeah.
he probably rebuilds it with something, some type of clay or epoxy sculpt or something. And but just it's just too much for me. I'd rather spend the $12 and get the artificial head that's never going to have any bugs in it.
Right.
You're never
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
have any issue
Yeah.
with it.
So you buy your own heads. If you ever ran into somebody who makes their own, makes their own bills, carves their own heads, that kind of thing.
I know some taxidermists that do it. That's a kind of an art form in itself. Being able to do that. It's a process, making a mold of it and everything, and just having to rebuild all the meat and muscle that was there and the fat. It's just, I don't know. I've probably met I don't know, maybe 25% of the taxidermists that I know make their own heads. But it's really just to save money is the only reason they do it.
Yeah. So the guy who did this one here, he told me that he made his own, and at first, I felt a little uncomfortable about it, just because I thought if you could buy one that's already pre-done and not have to make your own, then that you're getting something that was sent to you from somebody who's actually making it, specifically on a larger scale and distributing them that way. So I was a little nervous not knowing what I would get from somebody. So is it something that you see that people kind of mess up a lot, or is it something that is fairly simple to do?
I wouldn't say it's a simple thing to do. I think you have to make about 10 molds before you actually get a mold that doesn't have a bunch of uh, what is that word? Doesn't have a bunch of issues with it. A bunch of impurifications. But I would say if they're doing it, and I guess it's like any taxidermist. If you want to be good at something, then you do it until you're good at it. But if you just want to be half-ass and make it okay, then you do it that way. But I guess it all goes back to how good the taxidermist is. How dedicated is he to making it right.
So what's your favorite bird or favorite pose or favorite mount to do?
I I like the way standing birds look, but and they go together pretty quickly. I've I used to have trouble with them, but now I've done figured out what to do first in order to make things, not bind up, not pinch skin. Hey, sorry about that. Cats were going crazy.
You're
It's
all
all
right.
right, man.
But I don't know. I think I like doing the flying mounts the best, just because I love the way the flying mounts look. You don't see ducks standing a lot, but you see ducks flying a lot. So I like to think of them as flying, not standing. But I do like the way standing ones look. That when I mount my own birds, I like to do standing birds.
Is that yours behind you? That can?
No, this is customers I just got finished with.
I got you.
Yeah, I haven't killed a canvasback yet. I would love to. I've been gunning for them for 3 years now, but
Yeah.
they've eluded the hell out of me.
So we talked about your favorite, like what's your favorite mountains. So what all do you mount? Like I see you got deer behind you, you got ducks. I know I asked you about bears. I know I'm going on a bear hunt in October, and you said, what have you done? What have you done, or what do you feel comfortable doing? I guess.
I've just done birds. I've done turkeys, geese, and ducks. And I also do the European deer skull mounts. not a big task, but we get about 100 of them a year, so I got to get them done. And Dad used to do them, but he just doesn't have time to do them anymore. But that's the only I don't want to do anything but birds. I wouldn't mind doing fish. I wouldn't mind doing saltwater fish. But
Yeah.
I gotta make some. We'd have to build a new shop and get some ventilators in there or ventilation in there. And
I feel like that would be a lot more. I feel like you have to care for the fish a lot more than you would a duck, because especially like something like a mahi mahi, like a dolphin, they lose their color pretty quick.
well, you're just you really just have to go off of pictures and you take a measurement of the fish, and they don't do, you don't actually use the skin on a saltwater fish.
Okay.
If they have scales, you can, like you could skin them on a redfish,
Okay.
but you couldn't skin, you couldn't
Like
skin them
tuna.
on a mahi or tuna or
Yeah. Okay.
marlin. So you're buying forms or replicas, and there's a bunch of distributors for that. They range in prices. A redfish could range from $200 to $600 for the same size fish from different distributors. But the quality in, like New Wave Taxidermy in Florida, their quality is, you know, I would, that's who I would always go with. If I get into it, I don't want to do anything but New Wave, just because they look so real. You can buy stuff out of the McKenzie Taxidermy catalog, and they just, the definition's not there for everything.
Yeah. Have you done a fish before?
No, I hadn't done any
No.
fish before. I bought all the paint supplies for it last year, and I was going to
Yeah.
start doing freshwater fish. And
I know you
I had
fished the
about a
hell out
month
of.
or two. I had about a month in between when I finished ducks and when the deer mounts, skull mounts started coming in. And I had 3 turkeys and like 8 fish in the freezer, and I decided to do turkeys instead. So that was last year. So I got in 4 or 5 turkeys last year and 4 or 5 this year. But I'm glad I did the turkeys. I was pretty good at the turkeys, and it wasn't much different than doing a duck.
Yeah. Same concept, just bigger.
Yep, a few different methods. Different wire sizes. You got to use bigger wires. You got to use more silicone. There's a good bit different in a turkey compared to a duck, but not much different from a goose than a duck.
I got you.
That's basically the exact same, but just bigger wires and
Have you
horns.
have you had any like coyotes or bobcats get brought into you?
Dad, Dad mounts mammals. I think he'd probably turned down about 7 bobcats this year, just because he's getting in so many. He had somebody else working for him, but they're not working for him anymore. So he's doing that, wanting to have them in the freezer. I think he did take in a couple that were from friends that were like, we don't care if it's a year or two, just
Yeah.
mount it whenever you get
Yeah.
time. But he just didn't want to have a bunch of them in the freezer for a long time, so he just turned them away.
So you're pretty much just doing deer and ducks for the most part.
Yeah, deer and ducks
Yeah,
for the
I
most
got you.
part.
Yeah, man. So what if I'm gonna go on a trip to the Midwest or the West Coast, and I want to come back home and bring a bird from there to you? What's your advice? Should I find someone out there that's going to do it and then pay the $200 plus to have it shipped to me, or should I try to take as good as care of it as possible and bring it all the way back to to somebody that I trust and someone that I know?
I would definitely bring it back to somebody you trust and know for sure. Just follow those rules. Go ahead and I advise everybody to go ahead and get you a pack of Ziploc bags and go ahead and stick the box in your truck, and then go ahead and stick a couple bags in your backpack that you're hunting that day. And heck, stick a couple little teeny Ziploc bags in there if you want, and put one over the head if it's pouring blood out of his head. If you want to, I can get blood out of the wings, but the cleaner you can keep that bird, the more you can be certain that everything's going to be perfect. Because it's not that big of a deal with a duck. On a turkey, blood frozen on the wing will tar that feather and make it won't ever be as pretty as it would have been. So that being said, I would just definitely bring it back home with you. I would put it in those Ziploc bags, and I would when you shoot that bird, go ahead and put it in your Ziploc bag. If it's 5 degrees outside, 85 degrees outside, stick it in the cooler. If when you get back to the hotel or the lodge, go stick it in the freezer, put your name on it, stick it in the freezer so nobody takes it. Don't leave it there. And whenever you go home, that at the end of the week, stick it in your cooler, and you'll be good to go. And we left our birds in the cooler all week last year. For about 3 days, they were in the cooler in Arkansas. It was about 20 or 30 degrees, and they had ice on them, but they were fine. I mean, I think you're always going to be okay as long as you're keeping that bird cold and not beating the hell out of it. But
So does that kind of
you
go the
don't want to
same for some
damage
of
your
the?
rig.
Does that kind of go the same for some of the
Good.
bigger game too? So like if you're going to go out
Yeah,
west, say you're going to go elk hunting or antelope hunting or something like that, you know, does that kind of go the same, just a larger scale?
I would if if you have a taxidermist at home when you go elk hunting and you shoot your elk, I would advise you to call your taxidermist and see if he wants to do it. Because
Right.
in an area with a bunch of elk, the taxidermists are going to be used to mounting an elk. So
Right.
finding the best taxidermist in that area would be the best thing to do for an elk. But like if you shoot a whitetail deer in Texas, I would advise bringing it back home. You have to follow. You're not allowed to bring the brain back, and you can't take the brain of a deer across state lines from what is it, CDW or
CWD.
whatever that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
disease.
that makes sense.
But I would definitely, if you go to Alaska and shoot a wolf, I would advise getting the wolf mounted in Alaska, because those guys are mounting those animals all the time. If you go shoot a lynx, we got a fellow that goes and does that kind of stuff, and he brought his 12-point whitetail deer from Alaska, or no, from Canada. He brought that back home for us to mount, but he shot I think it was Alaska. He shot his wolf. He got the guy in Alaska to mount it. Just
That's
because,
pretty cool.
like I said, they got experience in doing
Right.
something like that, and finding the best person in that area is the way to go on that.
Yeah, for sure. So like if someone was going to take you a duck or a deer, when is the best time in the calendar year to bring you a bird or a whitetail for like a turnaround time? Because I know like Ben waited damn near 2 years to get his widgeon back. And I know it's different. It differentiates from taxidermist to taxidermist. But for you personally, if someone's going to bring a duck to you, when would be the easiest time, or I guess the quickest time to get it back?
Well, your quickest time is I've been doing, if you pay up front, then you go to the head of the line, and if you just put a deposit on it, then you go behind the people who paid it in full. But I think I'll do an expedited service this year instead of just kind of jumping you to the front if you pay in full. And I don't know, maybe charge an extra $50 or something, and have a 2 or 3 week turnaround on it. But I would say for overall, it just varies, you know. I got in 30 something ducks first split last year. So, I mean, after first split, it was just game on for me. And it really hasn't stopped. I've been getting ducks in all year. But I would say it's probably a pretty average for me. I don't think I've ever, you know, some guys were 2 or 3 weeks, and then I would say probably for average though 3 or 4 months for me.
Yeah, I got you. And the last question I got, we always ask who comes on that has a business or a side hustle. Like if I were to bring you a bird, what would I get from you that I might not get from someone down the road?
Well, I mean, I care a lot about what I'm doing. You know, I'm trying to be flowing in the business. I'm not trying to be stagnant and always putting out the same. You know, if I was still doing the same type of work I was doing 2 years ago, I'd be mad at myself that I hadn't progressed any.
Right.
I mean, I understand at some point you're at the top, but most people aren't. And if you're not trying to be, then I think you're.
Yeah.
You know.
So like what you're saying, you're just always trying to improve and better your artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go ahead if you have something else.
I just see guys, you know, putting in that extra effort to, you know, get
Right.
it, you know, flowing like it's supposed to. You know, they're rushing. They're, you know, they want to get it done in so many hours, and whatever it looks like at the end of that 8th
It is
hour
what it is.
or 4th hour, it is what it is.
So if someone's going to bring you a duck or a deer, what are they expecting price wise when they bring it to you?
Oh, we're at $275 a duck and $550 on the deer, and for geese, looking at $450 for anything smaller than your greater Canadas, but the greater Canadas are $500, and turkeys are $750 full body. You know, any pose, strutting, standing, flying. But we also do the European mounts. You know, $100 for those with a board, and I'll do alligator skull mounts too for $300. Everybody gets lucky every now and then and gets one of those tags.
I put in the last 2 years, man. I haven't got it drawn yet, so maybe next year I'll get lucky.
I got 4 points already.
4? Dang.
Yeah.
This year I put my wife in for it too. I'm like, well, I'll just double my odds, right?
No, it takes you back down to 1.
Do what?
It takes you back down to her point.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I had her enter it separate.
So y'all didn't join up as a team?
No, I had her.
Okay.
I had her going separate.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, that won't take you down, then. I made the mistake a couple years ago and put I've been waiting like 5 or 6 years now because a couple years ago I made the mistake and put two of my buddies on my team with me, and
Oh, yeah.
it it took me back down to their preference point number. I was like, I'm sure we're gonna get one this year,
Yeah.
so it
So
didn't work out.
I know you posted on Facebook this last spring. I don't know what it's called. It's for the turkeys, but it's like that back, like the back scalp, I guess, and then like the fan and the wings. What's that called?
They call it a
Cape.
cape
Okay.
mount.
How much do those run?
Those are 250,
So
and
if someone brings it to you, do they just bring you the whole bird and then you'll kind of cut it yourself, or do you expect um, the hunter kind of take it off?
99% of the time, the people bring me the
Yeah.
whole bird.
Okay.
It's usually just local people, and they usually bring me the whole bird, and I'll cut. They'll tell me what they want, and most of my full body mounts too. People bring them, and I'll go ahead and skin it right there while we're talking, and so they can go ahead and take the breast meat home.
Right. Cool. And so if someone were to bring you a duck, could they get the breast meat out of it too if they wanted it?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that before too. And I would do it for anybody if they asked me,
Right.
but people always ask me, do I eat the duck meat? And I'm like, no, I don't know where, I
Yeah.
don't know how they properly maintained.
How long it was sitting out in that 80-degree weather? Yeah. I don't blame you. But
I'll,
yeah, is there anything else you want to say? But if not,
no,
just tell the fine people where they can find you at on social media, and then I know you said you're in Sumner, right? That's where your shop is too, in Sumner?
yep, Sumter. And you can find me on Instagram, waterfowl, period, taxidermy. And then my Facebook is Jacob, period, Shipman, period, 16, I think. You can just probably type in Shipman's Taxidermy. I got a Facebook page on that as well. Uh, I got a Twitter, but nobody likes Twitter, so.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can kill a bird or two to bring it up to you this year.
Heck yeah, man. Where do y'all hunt at whenever y'all hunt down there?
Last year I went to Nodak, and then I hunted on basis this last year, but I got a boat actually. I got it yesterday, so I'll probably be
Oh,
going out and scout, and then I'll try to cut a little bit more ground this year.
what'd you get?
It's a 95 lows, 1654
What kind of
side
motor?
console. It's a 40 Mariner.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's old two-stroke.
Heck yeah, I got a 98 Express with a 98 Yamaha 40 on it.
Yeah, I think the motor's like a 94. It's I know one's a 94, one's a 95. I haven't looked at the I don't know, it's something like that. But yeah, I took it out yesterday. Runs good. I'm ready for season to come in.
Watch out for them sandbars.
Yeah, and the stumps, that's what I'm worried about. Them damn stumps.
Yeah.
Well, where do you hunt at? You don't hunt Goose Creek. I mean, you hunt in Goose Creek, or do you
I,
go
I
to Santee? Or
I put in on Bushy a couple of times last year, and then I put in over at it's called over by Mac Daddy's boat landing.
that's on Santee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Santee or Moultrie. I don't know. I'm still learning the area, so.
Moultrie's the little one. That's just the big circle, basically, and
I gotcha.
Santee. Marion's the huge one.
Maybe it was Marion. I mean, that's what I'm thinking of.
Did y'all shoot anything?
I didn't. I think Ben got it. He hunted Virginia last year. He killed it, like a couple.
Yeah, so last year I had a rough year. Last year's probably the worst year I've ever had duck hunting. So, but up here in Virginia, man. But yeah, I did all right. I mean, I
You don't go to the Chesapeake Bay?
no, so my boat ain't big enough to get out there, man. I've hunted on the bay with some other people. Took me out there. We shot some sea ducks out there. Shot a couple of bufflehead out there, um, but my boat to get out there, on my own.
You need a
I got
mud boat. You need a mud motor.
yeah, yeah. I've
You need a mud motor. You need to go hunt the back side of it. You don't need to hunt in the open, and out towards the ocean. You need to hunt on the
yeah,
back and shoot the puddle ducks.
yeah. So
I don't think it's a coincidence that after I left, his numbers went down. So
yeah, we'll go with that. The coincidence is that finding people that one weren't tight-lipped and not willing to take other people with them, or not people that were going to be as dedicated as I was. That was the biggest issue. But I mean, I've got some stuff lined up this year, so this would be a pretty big year.
Yeah, maybe you can learn some new tricks.
For sure, I'm looking forward to it. I'm always trying to learn, man. You'll never
I'm
know
gonna,
anything about this waterfowl and stuff.
no, you gotta keep learning. Everything's always changing too, so it's just a never ending learning thing.
yeah, absolutely. But I appreciate you coming on,
Yes,
sharing
sir.
some insight on taxidermy. And guys, if you kill a bird, you guys are in the Sumter Low Country area, please find them on Facebook.
Shipping as well. Shipping
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, ship it. You can find them
I
on
got some birds.
Facebook. I'm
I
sure
got
y'all
some
can hash
birds.
out details if you want to ship them one or just take them one if you're local.
Yeah, I got some birds from Virginia this year. So that's a new thing that we just started doing this year, really. But it worked out great. Everything works good. You put it in an insulated box, then you can get it with no problem. We do 1 day shipping and tell them that you know, they'll take care of it if it's in that insulated box.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, if you guys
For sure, man.
need a bird, send it to him. He'll get you. He'll do it right. He'll get it to you quick. So, Jacob, I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
appreciate it,
thanks,
Levi,
man.
and thank you too, Ben.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, you too, man. All right, guys, that was Mr. Jacob Shipman with Shipman Taxidermy. Awesome guy, very knowledgeable in what he does, very passionate in what he does. He prides
It's in his
himself on
blood.
yeah, without a doubt. I mean, is handed down through his families. I mean, he's doing it with his dad, or did it with his dad. His dad has his own, and he does it now. So we are very thankful for having him on. And if you guys, like Levi said, if you guys shoot a bird and you want to get it out to him, no matter where you're at, he does shipping, and he can make it happen.
Shipman chips.
Come on, man. What is this, Dad Joke Central? Come on, man.
I'm a dad 24/7. Okay.
Right.
So some of the times, just when my wife's not around.
Yeah. They got to play parent.
Yeah. Right. But we're wrapping the podcast up. We're gonna start doing something every week now, like just a tip, like a pro tip at the end of each segment, each episode. This week we're gonna talk about what you can do to get invited back, if like to a boat or a blind. I know if you get invited to a boat, like I know I'm always offering to be the dog. If there's not a dog there, I'll go pick up birds. I mean, I like to do that anyway. I like if someone shoots, I like to go pick up the birds and check them out. Help chipping for gas. Just Just
don't,
be nice.
yeah, and
Just
don't be a mooch, man.
right.
If somebody invites you on a hunt and you have something to offer them, um, switch trade hunts. You know, if they take you on
Yep.
something, take them on a hunt. It doesn't have to be duck hunting. It could be a deer hunt. It could be a dove hunt. It could be
Yeah.
fishing. It could be anything. Just offer something
Offer to
back.
cook breakfast. That's another thing. Give them little propane tanks and the skillet. Offer to bring bacon or eggs or pork, whatever. Pick up breakfast on the way, coffee. You know, little things like that will go the extra mile instead of, and offer to go scouting with them too, not just
Yep.
the day before opening day comes in and say, hey, where are we going? You know what I mean? Offer to
Yep.
just be involved with that person, like whoever blinded is, or put out decoys, help pick up decoys. Just
Yeah.
put
Just be a
yourself in
good
their
sport.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, be
Put
a good
yourself in their
sport.
situation and just see like what would I want someone to do
Yeah.
that I would want, you know what I mean, if I were to invite someone back. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
because I
So I
know you have to kind of do a lot to not be invited back on someone's boat. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to another guy that could bring in like, yeah, this last guy, he didn't do jack. He didn't offer to pick up birds or decoys, or he didn't pitch in for breakfast. So
yeah.
just be courteous. Make sure you tell him please or thank you. You know, I mean, little things go a long way. So
Yeah. So I know for me, if I'm taking someone out, um, and this is just my preference, and I'm going to appreciate anything that somebody offers me or does for me. And thanks for taking me out, but I'm not the guy who needs something back from you. I don't need you um, to have to buy me coffee in the morning or pay for gas. You don't have to do any of that with me. I mean, I just enjoy being out there, and I enjoy taking other people out there. I enjoy spending time out hunting. So all I want you to do is not ruin my time. I mean, it's
so
as
another
honest as
good thing.
that.
So another thing is to learn how to tie knots if you're gonna go out with
Yeah,
Ben. All
don't let
right.
my don't let
So
my
his boat,
boat float
say it's
off.
time to go swimming.
Yeah, but and even those guys, and they're not necessarily barred from my boat either. They were I had an awesome time hunting with them, and they didn't complain. They understood that, you know, it's hard work. There's work to be done. You know, that's the biggest thing. Um, so just helping out, not bitching about everything, not bitching. There's no birds, not. I mean, just understanding that it's hunting, not killing. That there's stuff that goes into it. You don't just go out there, the birds show up, and you go home in 20 minutes. So that's my biggest
Yeah.
thing for me, at least. And I know there's
Maybe
other people that
maybe let go ahead, Ben.
I know there's other people like they want you to pay for gas, and that's fine. I mean, they're taking you out on their personal stuff, so if they want you to pay for gas, then there's nothing wrong with them. But
But like if it's
just kind
me,
of
I'm
asking.
already gonna be out there anyway. I'm already gonna be out there anyway, so there's really no point of paying me gas if I'm already gonna be out there. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree, man.
I lost what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going out there anyways. You're not the reason why I'm going out there, and I don't mean that to be an asshole, but that's the truth. You're
Right.
not the reason why I'm going out there.
Yeah.
So it just don't feel like I'm doing it because I'm bringing you along. I'm doing it because I want to be out there, and I want you to go out there, and I want somebody to enjoy it out there with me.
And then maybe I don't know, this is what I was gonna say, by the way. Maybe let them take the lead on calling because they might know the area better, or like they're just the birds. You know, they might know what they like more than one thing. So maybe let them take the lead on calling, and you're the guy with the 6-1 one morning. You're in there just making more duck sounds. You know, you're not doing nothing crazy. You're just adding more vocals to the spread. So I mean, and say, hey, I don't know what you got, but I got these different types of species decoys. Is that something that you guys need? Because I know, I mean, you pretty much had all the decoys. I'd bring my my mallards.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the brand.
Man.
Dakotas. The Dakota.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
You're
It's
just
contagious.
on it. You're on it tonight, man.
I bring my Dakotas. I bring my battle swimmer I had. So I mean, some of those things. I know those battle swimmers. A lot of people love them, and I mean, I wanted in a raffle group, so I would normally throw that. Like, yeah, I'm sure you got decoys, but I got a battle swimmer. And a lot of people say, yeah, bring that because it just adds motion. So I mean, just try to be resourceful, try to be useful. Because like Ben said, you got to do a lot to get kicked off one of our boats. So, and like I said, I know, I'm not saying it just to say it to be invited back, but I am like generally really grateful if someone does take me out, because I know a lot of people don't take people out because they're, like how duck hunters are so secretive, like what Colby was saying last week. They're so secretive and they want people to know their spots. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't want to take someone that I put in 8 hours of scouting to find, 20, 30 birds, especially on the East Coast, something like that. And then just to have it get ransacked by a guy. I take a guy and then he tells Jim, Bob, and Tony, and they tell their friends, and it's just a big game of telephone. So, I mean, I am generally grateful when people do take me, and I try to tell them multiple times throughout the hunt. So, and even if we don't kill anything, I'm used to it. I hunted with you last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of it, right? So you're not going to go out there. And
yeah, it is.
You're not going to kill stuff every time. And I think going out there and understanding that is a big part of it. So there's times, I mean, that I've gone out with people who invited me out on hunts, and we went out and he's apologizing to me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, we didn't kill anything." And he feels bad, and I feel bad that he feels that way, because I know the likelihood is one he's taken people out who have felt that way, that or he's just a genuinely good guy who wants to give me an opportunity. But you don't have to feel that way. If you go out, it's hunting, it's not killing. So there's the nature of the beast, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and as long as you are somebody that's enjoyable to be out there with, and you can offer something, and I'm not saying you have to offer something huge. As long as you have something to offer that person, they're gonna feel grateful, and they're gonna feel like you appreciated it, and that's gonna give them the inclination to invite you back. Now, the hard thing to do is to get in with a group who already has their clique. Yes. So and that one's definitely very difficult, because they are the secretive ones. They are the ones that are not willing to let other people in. So other than if you're trying to crack that code, your likelihood of it might just be one of those, hey, thanks for taking me out this once, and you understand that it's not.
If you get invited back, if you get invited back, it's cool. If not, I wouldn't kind of like you're saying, don't expect to be in the group. Maybe it might take a year or two to really kind of wedge your way in there before they start taking you regularly.
Yeah. Well, and another big piece of the puzzle that we're not even talking about is understand that the spot they're taking you to is their spot. That's a big piece of the puzzle, because if they take you out there and they feel like you're going to go telling somebody else the spot, if they feel like you're going to go out there and then you're going to bring somebody else out there, or you're going to go talking about that spot, then they're going to feel like, hey, that's my spot. I brought you out there. So that's a big thing, is understanding that those spots are not. I mean, it's not your spot; it's their spot. So.
Yeah, and kind of like what you were saying earlier, like take them on a hunt, like put in for the quota hunts, like the drawed hunts, and then if you get drawn, like, hey, I got drawn for this. Would you guys like to come with me? And then like, oh yeah, sure, I like to go. Or no, screw you, we don't want to hunt with you again. But I mean, if they do come with you, then they're like, you know what, this guy might not be that bad. We might have to invite him back. So.
Right, 100%. Yeah, so just enjoy being out there. I think
Yeah.
this is something that we can all enjoy. This isn't one of those. There's only enough room for so many of us. We have a close knit hunting community. There are a lot of hunters out there, and we need to take care of each other, and we need to look out for each other. Keep this sport that we love staying the way we want it to be. And we'll just enjoy being out there. There's nothing like being out there on a cold morning with the fog coming off the water and mallards dropping in the decoys. So just everybody enjoy what you're doing, and
But yeah, that's gonna wrap up our little pro tip segment of the week. If hey, we're like at 350 right now, so we're creeping to 500. So guys, me and Ben were talking at once we reach 400, we're gonna go ahead and post the link, or just we're gonna pin the post, make a post, pin it for the official quotation marks for listening on podcasts, not YouTube, not watching on YouTube. The official post to how to enter. Like I said before, we're gonna how you enter. Share it with either your hunting buddy or just a friend that you think would enjoy the podcast, and tag them in the other post. Whether they join or not, we're still gonna give it to you. I mean, the effort was there. We'll give you a number, and then we'll probably go live one night. And then I have a random number generator. We're number them 1, 2, 3, 4. How many people enter? And do a random number generator, and then we'll run it, and whoever number lands on, we'll get it. We'll get with that person for shipping, etc. So, but yeah, guys, keep an eye out for that. And we got Mr. Mikkel Goins, Jesus, dude, it's bad. The guide. The guide. With
man,
Big Kansas.
You've been drinking too much of that piss water.
I know, man.
What is that?
I think
that piss water Bud Light, man.
It's China Light because they sold it out. But yeah, we'll have Mr. Mikkel and talking about guiding, just hunting the Midwest in general. I mean, I think that man's been guiding since we've been out of high school, and he graduated before I did. So last 8 years or so, he's been guiding just Canada all the way down to Kansas, Arkansas area. So he's got a lot of knowledge he's going to be able to tell us too. So
yeah, so check us out on Facebook if you haven't done so already. Around the Blind Podcast. Like it, follow it, become active on our Facebook page. We talk waterfowling. It's what we do. We talk it with each other. We'll talk it with anybody. So reach out there, comment, talk to us. You can message us direct. Follow me at BenG1189 on Twitter. You can talk to me on hunting there. You can follow me on Instagram, BenG1189. Talk to me hunting there. You can follow the Bow Hunting Vet Twitter page and talk to us about hunting there. We have a YouTube page. So we not only do we post these podcasts on there, but Levi makes other content. You can subscribe and hit the notifications button and get notifications for whenever these go up. Follow us on your favorite podcast site and give us ratings, comment, say whether you liked it, whether you don't like it. If you don't like it, tell us straight up. We are not going to be offended.
Tell us why. Give it like a logical explanation too, not just say, "Oh, those guys are dumb" or "You're stupid." I didn't like the podcast because I don't feel like you're talking about real issues. That's fine. What are some real issues? Well, I mean, like if you ever when I first posted it, I got some people like making fun or whatever. That's fine. We'll have anyone on. We'll talk to anyone. Come on. If you think you're Mr. Great White Hunter, come on. We'll have you on. We'll talk.
Yeah, and we're not going to be like, hey, you think you know everything? Come on here and try to shoot you down. We'll come on here, man, and we'll talk to you guys. We'll talk to anybody. It's what we do.
People like that.
Hunting.
aren't the ones that are gonna want to share anything. They're the secretive guys. So
Yeah.
But that's okay. Whatever.
It
Don't
is what
matter.
it is. We can,
Absolutely.
but also understand if you're putting stuff on there and you're saying that we should change this or change that. This is our show. I mean, we're gonna do it how we want to do it. We're gonna enjoy doing it. We will take constructive feedback. If you guys tell us, like Levi said, like what we could do better, but we'll take it into account and we'll do what we can.
Absolutely.
But so yeah, 100% stay active. Comment on us, talk to us. We will talk back.
Please stay active.
Yeah. So, and then we're waiting to give away this call. It's gonna be a badass call, man. But, Levi, you want to head and go shout out your social media stuff since I continue to refuse to memorize it.
That's fine. Twitter's at L_Collins6, and then Instagram is the shots.
Cool. Well, this has been the Round the Blind podcast, guys. Thanks for listening.